All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition, the E3 edition of the Four Heads podcast. I am Goldenboy alongside Reinforced, Bren, and Sideshow, bringing you all the greatest news, not really, in the world of gaming. And we're all in different locations. I'm in a hotel in LA. We're all in the same place, but we decided to not record the podcast together.
Same. Yeah, it's more difficult.
Different. Yeah, it actually is more, it's more challenging for us to
also,
like
I mean, we could have just used the setup that we used literally yesterday, which is why I'm in a different place as well, because we turned our apartment into like a little D&D campaign area. So there's like a battle map and two things over there. We could have all sat down and just recorded it here, but Alex didn't want to come and say hello to us.
What do you mean? I wasn't invited to the D&D thing.
That's true.
To be fair, it's also 8 in the morning, so Goldenboy would have been like up at 6 a.m. just.
Oh yeah, because for some reason Epic decided to put me at the Westin LAX.
So the call out though. They're skimping the budget already, huh?
yeah.
Whoa.
Fun fact. I actually saw him at the party.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. We chatted.
Say hello.
Stuff. Yeah, he was wearing a bright Hawaiian shirt, really acclimating well to me.
Really?
Yeah. He was a riot. It was like walking to the to like the party, and he was just like on his phone, and I just like stumbled across him. Like, of all the people that I could have stumbled across at E3, it's freaking Nate Nancer just hanging out at a building at the side of LA Live, like on a random phone call.
I bet that Hawaiian shirt cost a lot.
It does make sense. Yeah, it was good. It was good. And then we hung out all day, and it was a fun time.
Wow, best friends.
Best friends. Yeah, me and Nate, best friends, BFFs forever.
Where we're dropping, pals.
Yeah,
Goldenboy and Nancer.
That's it. Duo
Tilted Towers.
It's it's Neo Tilted now.
Neo Tilted.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, man. I have to
get your head out of your ass.
Fortnite is lit though.
Seriously,
that's all I'm saying. I've been playing so much of it recently.
Really? Are you talking about the gameplay, or you're talking about the skins?
The gameplay, dude.
Okay.
I love all the mobility they've added to the game. Like the fucking wind tunnels, you going around, just going up. It takes you no time at all to get anywhere these days.
But is it still like people just building and being incredible
Not really.
at architecture to win the game?
The real skill these days is editing. It's all about the editing. The top players are just phenomenal at managing to get the quick edits off, and like that's what it's all about. Like quick edits into the shotgun, one pumps. You gotta be quick.
It's really about just taking ownership of a wall, and then once you do that, then you're able to edit and get aggro on somebody. It's pretty cool. Like there's definitely a deep element to like how players play, and I think it sucks that a lot of people give Fortnite a lot of crap, and there are things that you obviously can point out, like releasing items the day of tournaments and stuff like that. But when it gets down to the core mechanics of the game, it's actually very impressive the way you see these players. Like,
it's insane, man. Fast. It's insane.
So fast.
Watching the Fortnite World Cup qualifiers, that's what got me back into the game, because I was like, whoa. It's like evolved so much. Like a year ago, watching Ninja, just like he would like slowly build a little platform and like edit a door, and people were like, "What the? He's editing a door? Whoa!" And now people are like building Taj Mahals and editing them into like a trailer, and like just fucking like doing like this trigonometry with like the I don't know, the cone pieces. It's weird shit. It's wild. The game has evolved.
A wonder of the world. And they edited the wonder of the world. Incredible.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's very impressive. So definitely cool. The party was great. Fun party, for sure. And I have to say, I was kind of like, the party last year was definitely like bigger and more ridiculous because they had like all the different zones. But this time around, they did this thing where they had like theaters, built on top of the LA Live area where we used to do like the COD events from and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was kind of weird because they would do puppet shows and like magic shows and stuff. And like everyone was all about it. And it just felt cool, like being a kid again and just being like, oh, you go check out the puppet show. Like I was like, I was hanging out with Kenny Omega He's like a pro wrestler. And I was like, "Oh, Kenny, you want to go to a puppet show?" Like, I asked that to like one of the greatest pro wrestlers on planet Earth. If you want to go to a puppet show, you know.
Did you go with Kenny Omega to the puppet show?
I did not. I did. Kenny passed on the puppet show, but I ended up going. It was like me, Kitty Plays, and a few of the other casters, and we went to the puppet. And actually, we went to the magic show. Okay. The magic show was really good. You know, it was actually quite mint.
Bren can do magic tricks.
I can.
Yeah, I've never seen a man evaporate SR.
Watch me disappear.
Look at this. He's gone. Got him. Woomph. He's off.
Got him at 8:24 in the morning.
Wow, it's too early, man. Yeah. I want to say, we should get some claps in the chat, or just some. I don't know what we can do to facilitate this, but we woke up early and did a podcast, guys.
Yeah. That's impressive.
What's the equivalent of like easy clap in YouTube comment section?
I mean, there's like Ninja's clap emote. That's what I have.
Yeah, but that's not on YouTube, is it?
Oh, on YouTube?
Like, yeah, because like I get it. We're live streaming the podcast, but we also put it up on like YouTube. So
yeah,
we need to like what do we say to the YouTube comment section?
Just everyone comment first.
Yeah, do people still do that?
Yeah, everyone just comment first. Yeah, if you're not commenting first on it, then I'll be very disappointed.
Is that still a thing? I remember that being a thing in 2004.
I don't think YouTube was around in 2004, was it?
It was, actually.
Wait, what? YouTube around in...
Was it?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Johnny's like...
his mind until his brain caught up. I don't know, wasn't it like 2007 or some shit?
I thought you said 2014, and I was like...
Oh, no.
And I was like, oh, wait, it said 2004.
I think the beta was out in 2004. I remember going on YouTube and watching it when I was in 2006. Going on my uncle was like chilling on it, and I remember Smosh being the biggest YouTubers.
No, I'm pretty sure it existed too.
I remember watching like Dragon Ball Z, like Japanese, the Japanese dubs.
Yeah.
Stuff.
The copyright technology hadn't caught up yet.
That was YouTube. That when YouTube like lost that, I legitimately was like, "How's this platform going to survive? Like, it's going to die." You know. And now here we are. Speaking of YouTube, we're at just shy of 1,500 subscribers on our YouTube. So if you guys have you can go and subscribe, hit the bell so you get notified whenever a new episode goes live. And there you go.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, and we're averaging like 3K views a video. Like we only have 2 videos and we're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Imagine if we actually put effort into this shit.
Speak for yourself.
It's going to be impressive if we were able to do it. Like,
what was the first thing you ever watched on YouTube? Because now that you've dug this hole, my brain is coming up with old shit that I remember my friends showing me back in the depths of time.
My friend actually, the first thing he showed me, and I'm not making this up, was hentai. Yeah, so that was the first thing I saw on YouTube.
No.
Yeah, was hentai. Like a guy, like a friend of mine was like, "Hey, have you ever heard of this thing?" And I said, "I'm an idiot kid." I was like, "No, it's called hentai. It's really like sexy Japanese anime." And I was like,
"We're gonna get banned."
and I was like, "Oh, sure, man." And then he sent me a link for it, and then I watched it. And I was like, "Oh no, I can't watch this at work." So then I just like closed this down.
At work? How old are you?
Yeah. I didn't know.
But when I get home,
and I was working at I was working at the New York Public Library at the time too.
How old are you?
And all people did at the I'm not even kidding you. All people did at the New York Public Library was they would go.
I was so ready for you to say all they do is watch hentai.
No. They go watch porn.
No.
Yeah,
what?
Yeah. So the New York Public Library that I work at, which was in Times Square. It was like you remember in Spider-Man when Uncle Ben dropped him off at the library? Okay. I actually worked at the one that was across the street from there. There were 2. That was like the record library, and then there was another one that was
Uncle Ben dropped him off at the clean library, not the one where everyone's jacking it.
Yeah. So, fair point. So I worked at that library, and I worked on the computer floor because no one knew anything about computers. So I worked there. and they would actually like put all the computers in the back, and they would always face outward, or no, they would face like inward. So the computers would be against the wall, and they would be like in multiple rows. So what ended up happening was that because of the computers, whoever thought it was a freaking genius idea to do that, they were like privacy and whatnot. Well, yeah, they ended up taking advantage of it, and then they would like pervies would go to the back, and they'll sit there and like they would just dominate that one back row.
Dominate is the wrong word.
Yeah. And then they would stay there the whole time, and they would come back and they'll keep on re-upping. And sometimes like it was bad. Like they'll be sweaty. Like we'd have to go and we'd have to like tell them like, hey man, what are you doing? You know, and they're like, I pay for my time. I should be allowed to be here.
Really? They would argue I should be allowed to masturbate in a public library.
Yep.
That's a hill to die on.
Yeah, dude, it was awful. I hated that job. And then so I just sat there and I built websites as like a side hobby for a friend of mine on GeoCities. And that was like my side hustle while I was at the library. It was pretty good.
I do feel like that must have been a learning experience in putting forth arguments that could have provided you help in the gaming community. So like
whoa, what are you talking about? You think his experience kicking pervs out of the New York Public Library was helpful to him becoming...
No, I'm just saying, if those people are so dumb and ignorant that they're like, oh, I should be able to masturbate in a public library, then Goldenboy must struggle so hard to actually try to teach the people that is clearly wrong. And just like that, in gaming, there are countless of people who argue the most stupid thing. Bren, can you help me out with a really dumb gaming question here? Like,
oh no, I mean, you're not wrong. It trains you. It trains you.
I mean, there's plenty of shit. When Overwatch was first announced, I mean, all the time I see fucking people tweeting, people who are well respected in the esports industry, like arguing about the Overwatch League's legitimacy as an esports.
Okay, that was not quite what I had in mind.
No, but Bren, he's on about like real dumb questions.
I mean, that is a real dumb question.
Oh, how is that a dumb question?
It's like, so what I'm thinking is like, we shouldn't play dive composition on defense because it is an offense composition. Do you feel me? It's like how, Overwatch categorizes all the heroes. You have defensive heroes and you have offense heroes. Like Hanzo was a defensive hero. Then Genji was like an offense hero. So you shouldn't play Genji on defense because he was clearly an offense hero. That's like I feel like when Goldenboy hears that question, level. He's like, PTSD from the library. Like,
well, I feel like that was Blizzard's fault because you would pick a defense hero on attack and then the game would inform you that you've made a bad decision. The game used to tell you like
too many snipers.
Too many snipers.
Too many tanks.
Defense
Not
hero
enough
on
damage.
Attack. Yeah. Good old times.
We've had too many tanks for a long while now.
But Bren, why was your first example of a really dumb question questioning the legitimacy of Overwatch as an esport? I mean, that's just a very reasonable, skeptical question.
Of esports so far, there's been people are just insecure. They want their esports to be the esports, and it happened with StarCraft when that came out. People from Warcraft 3 were chatting shit on it. When League of Legends came out, the StarCraft community shunned it. When when Overwatch came out, the League of Legends community shunned it. CSGO shunned it. Like they all just everyone's insecure about their esports. They want theirs to be the best. They don't think about the big picture. Everyone's got a tiny little brain thinking about a tiny little scene with tiny little problems.
But don't you think that's a valid question, though?
No, it's not valid at all. You have to be Papega as fuck to even consider that valid.
I'm just shooting a hot fire. How? All right, so if a new game came out, just questioning the legitimacy of it as an esport at all is Papega shit, according to you.
Well,
applying
what makes
any critical
What's
thinking?
the definition of an esports?
Just a game that you play competitively.
Exactly. Yeah, and like that's a very simple metric to meet. A very simple metric to meet.
Yeah, but it's like when
the legitimacy of it comes back to how sustainable it is to make money or for it to have viewership or stuff like that. I mean, TF2 is not a sustainable.
I'm not talking about if it's going to be successful. That's not what I mean by is it a legitimate esports. I'm just saying people trying to argue that
it isn't an esport.
Overwatch is a dumb game, so it shouldn't be played competitively. It's cartoons. Yeah.
Right.
That's what
Okay.
people say about Fortnite.
Where does this hate stem from, Bren?
It's been boiling up for a long time.
There's no hate in me. I'm all sugar, sunshine.
Oh my god.
Do you want to talk about Keanu Reeves?
Yeah. Keanu Reeves is the greatest
Could
thing.
talk about that man for
Should we
days.
just go down the
greatest
list
thing
of the
on planet
E3 news?
Yeah, so
On
E3
this
edition,
PC game.
obviously, even though OWL season is happening as it's happening.
So it's just goats.
Yeah,
Yeah,
nothing's
it's
just
goes.
happening.
about
So there's not
E3.
really much to talk about there. But what has been dominating the news cycle has been E3 2019. Lots of good games that were talked about. There were some new announcements, some really interesting games. I would probably say one of the most interesting games for me personally has to be Bleeding Edge. It is the new third-person melee action game from Ninja Theory. Excuse me. This is the Hellblade. Oh my god, that
Yes.
PS4 game, Heavenly Sword, et cetera, et cetera.
Is this the game with the ridiculous character design?
Yes.
Like, the
Yeah, with
characters just
Buttercup.
look
Characters looks
crazy.
amazing.
Yeah, with Buttercup. She's like part human, part motorcycle. It's pretty wild. Really good, honestly. I had a chance to just like sit there at the Xbox showcase and take a look, and I didn't get to play because the line was so long. So I just like sat there and just watched, and I was pleasantly like surprised and very interested in it. Funny enough, though, the Ninja Theory guys and all that, like when I asked them about competitive gaming, I just was like, hey, you guys thinking about something like that? They were like, oh, what's that? Oh, okay, all right, good
Probably
enough.
not then. Probably not. Is
Yeah,
that
yeah.
an esport?
Not on their
Brad?
radar. I mean, I think it's so weird as well that. Oh God, what am I even going to say?
Oh,
Well, I think it's just it's
weird, though.
interesting that we have another game in the space that has this very out there design, and I personally like the look and the feel of the game and the way it's presented. But a lot of people certainly have been giving it a lot of, not giving it crap, but
what did
just
you say the
saying,
name
like,
was?
Bleeding Edge.
Bleeding Edge.
Yeah, and a lot of people were basically like, "Oh, yay, another game with crazy character designs and the like, just trying to cash in on skins and whatnot." But it's Ninja Theory, and they're a really good dev, so
Holy
I'm okay
crap.
with it.
This looks amazing.
Yeah.
Should we talk about? I want to talk about Elden Ring. Heard about this?
What is that? What is Elden
Oh
Ring?
my God! So,
That's the George R. R. Martin one.
yeah,
Oh.
Dark Souls.
Oh yeah.
But the creator
From
of Dark
Software.
Souls, from Software, they collabed with George R. R. Martin for the story. But apparently, in an article where what's his name got interviewed, I can't remember the dude's name.
What, George R. R. Martin?
No, the other one,
other
Miyazaki.
Miyazaki. Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yeah, Miyazaki said it's an open world game, right? It's the first open world game they've really done. But the gameplay is going to be very similar to Dark Souls, and it's going to have a similar feel where like you won't be coming across like fully populated villages. You're going to be coming across the ruins of it. So it's like this sounds dope. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, Dark Souls just consistently performs in my eyes as like one of the greatest games that's ever been created.
Yeah.
Like ever.
Every
Like, in
single
terms
one
of
is
design.
fantastic.
Yeah. So this just sounds like it's going to be absolute fire, and I'm so
Did
glad.
you watch
I'm
the
like,
trailer?
yeah. I mean, it's just typical Dark Souls shit.
Yeah,
You just don't know what's going
the
on.
trailer was pretty underwhelming, but I think that's just the From Software way of doing it, right? They release kind of trailers that don't really tell you anything. They're just cinematic shots of big bosses,
Yeah.
and you're like, okay,
That
what
is in
this?
line with Dark Souls games, though.
Yes, yeah, it is. Yeah.
Because the
Trailers
gameplay
with
does
Dark
the talking. The gameplay does the talking. You don't need like like that kind of gameplay does not translate well in a trailer.
No,
Yeah.
I agree.
It's
yeah.
also, I mean, the nature of how they tell the story in Dark Souls games is they don't shove it in your face. It's all indirect. You have to seek it out, and you have to piece it together yourself. And the
But I love
trailers,
that though. That's so sick.
Yeah.
I actually don't enjoy playing Dark Souls games that much. Like I love like booting it up and doing
because you're a casual.
hours.
Yes, you're a filthy
casual.
More because I'm too hard on myself and I become furious when I die 100 times.
Yeah, exactly. You're just going to turn your brain off like me and Bren and die 1,000 times and not be bothered by it.
Yeah, I tried that when we did the wall climbing thing with Genji Doofist, the new arcade mode, like parkour in Overwatch. And it's like you die 500 times, and my brain is just like fried. Anyway, so I love watching streamers because the viewers generally have a really good idea of what the story is in the game. Yeah. And as you as a streamer, find more stuff, they're just like, the chat explains exactly like, oh, this object is from the nephew of this boss you killed, and therefore the boss is furious because you stole their wedding dress or something. I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
So, but that's it. Yeah.
Wild stories, and I'm like, I love this.
Yeah, I find it more entertaining to stream those games than I would do just playing it myself because of that. Because other people have done that crazy research and present you with the information, but it's not. If the game presented you with the information, it would feel very heavy-handed because there is a lot of lore behind it. But just to get hit in the face with it repeatedly would be.
You have the perfect audience, though, to stream Dark Souls. Because in my audience,
insanely nerdy.
I have a pretty friendly community, especially when I play Overwatch. It's like a lot of the people in my chat, they're
very PMA.
PMA, love talking to each other on a daily basis in my Discord and just have a good time and like listen to good music because I have the best playlist on Twitch. But your community is just like
they hate
your
me.
community is just like, oh, Josh fucking sucks at this game. He's terrible. Wow. Look at him die.
Yes.
That's just what they're all about. They're like, oh, Joshua got hit by a trap. And they're like, Pega.
Yeah, true.
They do enjoy watching me die.
Perfect Dark Souls community.
Yeah. You should totally do it. Actually, interestingly enough, I was speaking to the Respawn guys about Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. And the way that they're doing their like big set piece battles is actually going to be more like a Dark Souls type game.
Yeah, I've heard really good things about that game.
Wait, how would that work? How would you get big battles that were like Dark Souls?
like you.
That's unfortunate.
They have a fight with one of the First Order people. And
you cut out for a second there, Goldenboy. What were you saying at the beginning of that sentence? You
could see it with the First Order people, like when they were fighting them. First Order was the name of them. Oh my god! Just do it.
Bless you.
Okay. In any case, so you could see the trailer with the First Order guys. Okay. And it actually is really good. Like the fighting is really good, and that's where I'm going to end it because there's nowhere to go from there. Josh
Apologies.
Started to sneeze. No,
I'm just sneezing. For all audio viewers that can't tell what's happening, I'm just sneezing in the corner. Apologies.
And dabbing furiously. It's like a casual sneeze. It's actually just like. Anyway, I've heard really good things about the Star Wars game, and they've literally told me it's like Dark Souls but Star Wars, and they really wanted to emphasize on like the lightsaber being like the most powerful weapon in the universe. So it's not like, oh, you have to beat this boss down for like fucking 20 minutes. But they're more like the opponents are so powerful that you have to approach it really tactfully. And you have to like parry stuff and like approach the game in a more strategic way.
But if you manage to kill them, you will kill them. That kind of idea.
Pretty much. Apparently there's a lot of, especially in the high end, the hard mode setting, there's a lot of parrying going on, and but it's just not like beating down random NPCs. But I'm very hopeful because apparently it has there's a lot of good things going on about it.
I am slightly wary that with the incredible popularity of Dark Souls and how well it's lauded across gaming, that we might just see a wave of people being like, it's like this but Dark Souls, or it's like Dark Souls but it's cars. It's like Dark Souls, but it's a racing game. And it's like, okay,
how is that? Would that even work?
Stop. Well, that's what I mean. Just people using it as a marketing thing to piggyback off the hype of it.
Like Dark Souls, but with Barbie. Yeah.
It should have its own name though. That genre.
So they call them Souls. It's just Souls.
Soulsborne.
No,
Soulsborne games.
No, they call them Souls games.
That
doesn't
really
RPGs,
Soulsborne because it includes Bloodborne.
Yeah, but that doesn't work anymore because of Sekiro. So you can't say Soulsborne.
It's always just been called Soulsborne. Like
I've never heard Soulsborne. I've always heard Souls type, like Souls type,
Souls-esque.
Why don't you just call it like SRPG, survival RPG?
Nah, it's too much effort.
Do you know what? No one's going to listen to any name that we put forward.
No,
anyway,
no one's going to give a shit about it.
Well, I can just imagine someone like doing a presentation of a game and looking for funding, just like talking to investors and just like, we're doing a Souls game, and they're like, what?
We're doing, and they're like, what the fuck is that?
You can't describe.
And then they follow up in the next slide and they say it's like Dark Souls games. But it's racing cars. And then, Grand Theft Auto Dark Souls gets born.
That's like playing me in Mario Kart, though.
What?
Because I will mess you up.
Oh, right. You are literally Dark Souls, but racing.
Yeah.
Just blue shells all the time.
My bananas are on point, bro.
Okay. I don't know if that means other things, but...
Yeah, there you go.
No, you're racing.
So, speaking of bananas... How about Keanu Reeves, huh?
Yeah, well-known banana eater. That sounds like an accusation.
I had the pleasure of being in that room. I was there. I was with him.
Oh man, you know how excited I am for Cyberpunk. Do you remember last E3?
I know. Okay, so E3 story time from 2018. So last year when they announced Cyberpunk, or not announced, but when they finally showed information on Cyberpunk. Yeah. We all went to E3. I think it was actually the four of us. I think it was all four of us, or was it just me, you, and Johnny?
No, I wasn't
at E3 because I was working in the Overwatch League, and everyone was,
So basically, I was doing stuff for T-Mobile there, and you guys had come out to like do the segments for T-Mobile, America's fastest network ever, and then I figured that I could make a play. Because Bren was so excited about Cyberpunk that I figured I could make a play. And I knew this guy who worked at Reverb, I think was the company that was doing the PR for it. Yeah. Hit him up and I'm like, hey man, is there any way we can see Cyberpunk? And he's like, come up, ask for me. We'll chat. I was like, dude, it's happening. It's happening. So, it was like me, Bren, but I remember it was other people that started to tag along with us. Because I was just like, oh, hey. And they're like, where are you going? Oh, we're going to go see Cyberpunk. And then people would just like tag along. Yeah. And I think that's where I messed up. That's where I messed up. Because then when I got there, the guy was like, yeah, no, I can't do this for everyone. And then I just wanted for Bren to see it. But it ended up not happening that way. Bren was very sad.
Bren doesn't have the clout. And therefore he is sad.
Yeah.
But
I feel like
ever since then, I've made it my life goal to obtain as much clout as possible by suckling on the teat of social media, such that eventually I grow into just this formidable monster that can just fucking pound my way through.
Clout pounder.
Clout pounder will be my nickname. They will ring through the ages. Brennan Hook, pounder. The clout pounder. And shall fear me as I go through hall to hall, knocking on each and every door. No game will be safe. No developer will be safe. I am inevitable.
Okay. It's cool. I'll just wait for Keanu Reeves to pop up and then see what they've got to announce.
So Keanu Reeves shows up. We all scream. I was with my buddy Bravo, and we held each other. Like it was legit. Like we grabbed each other, and he just looks at me. He's like, and I look at him, and we were just going wild, man. It was nuts. It was nuts. How can Keanu Reeves just do everything and be awesome? You know.
I was thinking a little bit about his career path. Because, I mean, this shows my youth as well. I was like, I wonder if he feels bad getting typecast as just like an unbelievable badass. And then someone was like, oh, you realize that he was typecast as a dumb fuck before that because he was in Bill and Ted. Yeah. And so he just was in a bunch of movies like that. So,
yeah, Speed was a departure for him. That's where he was kind of like casted as a hero. But that movie was, my girl Sandy B still got it, by the way.
I have no idea what you're talking about, but okay.
You don't know Sandra Bullock?
Oh.
Sandy B?
Right.
Not really.
I've heard of the name.
Sandra Bullock is goals, okay? It's just facts of life. Well, anyone knows that.
I didn't know who Selena Gomez was until recently.
I think Sandra Bullock might be more famous than Selena Gomez. I don't really know. I'm not big into celebrities, Goldenboy. You're looking at me like Like we're weird, but I've never, I haven't really heard of these people.
Yeah, it's confusing. It's like I'm just stunned. I'm shocked, and I'm in awe. You didn't know who Selena Gomez was until like just a little while ago, and Sandy B, dude.
I mean, the point is, everyone knows Keanu Reeves.
Sure, yeah. So everyone knows Keanu Reeves. Man shows up, fucking blazes a trail at Cyberpunk, and
Every other game.
1E3.
Yeah.
Yep, every other game that doesn't have Keanu Reeves just loses by default.
Dude, did
I'm
the
okay
game
with
look
Keanu Reeves
good?
in every game. So they just showed a cinematic trailer, but
Right.
it's good.
Oh god, it looks so good.
It's CD Projekt Red. They're like one of the best development studios in the world. No one's gonna touch them, and the game's gonna be good. Like anyone who questions anything from CD Projekt Red, we have to check them for some issues, some brain issues. Okay.
I honestly believe it might fail.
Oh, okay, here we go.
All right, let's go. Time to freaking check
Whip
it
out
for
the
brain
stethoscope. Get
There's
the
so much
MRI.
hype. It's such an ambitious project. People want it. They might just like rush the release. It's like
they've taken years.
Bro,
off
you
this
don't.
game.
You actually have no idea how long I've been waiting for this game.
they took years for Diablo 3 as well.
Honestly, what's the name of the game again? Cyberpunk 2077.
Cyberpunk 2077.
Honestly, Johnny, by the time they get around to releasing it, that might be like it's in the past. Like 2077 might be in the past by the time they get to releasing that
They're
game.
not gonna
But
release
it's releasing in 2020.
They've taken a while. They push it back decades.
Could you imagine that though? They're just like keep adding actors in to like immortalize them for 2077.
Well, I mean,
Every
Death
actor
Stranding
from now
has,
to 2077 gets added into the game.
Death Stranding
actually.
has Norman Reedus, right? Reedus, I think, for the guy from Walking Dead. Obviously, like it's happening more and more. Kiefer Sullivan was the voice actor for Solid Snake in the new Metal Gear Solid, even though it should have been David Hayter. But
I never played a Metal Gear Solid
I
game.
think gaming
so
might
good.
be gaming might be the greatest medium for storytelling.
Gaming
Goldenboy's
might be the
dead.
greatest medium for storytelling.
yeah, it is. I agree,
you've,
100%.
I think you've definitely got a point there, but I think one of the big things that stops gaming being a fantastic vehicle for storytelling is that if you fail to if you don't succeed at whatever task is put in front of you, you can't access the rest of the story. You can be just log jammed by your own inability. So
But
it's
that
not as
makes it that much-
accessible.
That makes it that much more enthralling, though, because if you succeed,
Right,
then-
but for example, like the Dark Souls games or something, say they were lauded as having one of the greatest storylines of all time.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say they do. They have very enthralling lore, but it's not like one of the greatest storylines of all time. But if that was to be hailed as a great piece of artwork and culture, but 50% of the population were too bad at games to actually be able to experience it for themselves, like that's not an effective medium for telling stories.
Well,
So
this
they
explains. Go ahead, Johnny.
They had this PlayStation game a while back. I think it was like a year or two ago. Fuck, it might even have been longer. Where, please remind me of the name of the game. But it's like a bunch of kids go to a house, and it's like a horror game, and you just make decisions, and then the decisions impact like the story of the game. So it's like, it's like a snowstorm outside, and
Yeah,
don't
I
go
know.
outside.
I know what you're talking about. XQC was playing it.
Yeah. And so it's essentially a story game, but you make the decisions, and so you're more like part of the story. And I guess it's sort of like Bandersnatch, like the Netflix.
Yeah, well,
thing.
but I mean that's like a choose your own adventure book. Those have been around forever. Those have not been.
I think the biggest
greatest.
thing holding back gaming is shit writers. Like, it's a good medium, but nobody really knows how to tap
I just
into
want to say before you go on, Bren, that I think that the story of that game I mentioned is pretty shit. So I'm not going to defend it, but go on.
Sure, you mean the idea of it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But your argument that people can't experience it, I think that's just, it's not the case these days. Like, gaming let's plays of like watching your favorite personality play through the game to completion is like mad popular these days.
Right, but that. I mean, that just removes everything that makes it a game. At that point, you are just watching. I mean, that could as well be a movie. That could just be anything. I mean, the whole point
Because
of
you're
a video
living
game is,
vicariously through them. Like, you can feel the challenge.
but you're not making choices. You're not doing things yourself.
But it's like watching a film with friends.
Right,
but the friend is a one-way screen, and it's a streamer.
What? It's like watching a movie with friends, except the movie is your friend. The television is your friend.
No, you're watching a movie with friends, except your friend is doesn't know you're there and is a streamer and is talking to thousands of other people at once.
Not your friend.
And is developing a real issue in society as it stands right now, where we've got these weird one-way relationships that are developing from people watching streamers.
Wait, do you think that's true?
Yeah, that is true.
Oh,
There's been numerous examples of people showing up to streamers and YouTubers' homes, essentially being like, "Oh my god, I'm your biggest fan. I know everything about you. You know, like we're best friends." And like, I don't know who the fuck you are. Like, like real wacky shit.
I thought you meant as more of a societal impact. Like people are engaged in so many one-way relationships with celebrities and stuff that they cease to be able to make relationships themselves.
That might be a thing.
I mean, it might be. I just thought that you'd read something more about it, more specifically. Yeah. I know that it's really interesting sometimes because I will tell stories on stream and then I put them on my YouTube and I feel like I've told everybody them. Like I feel like I've told my friends that story because I put it out into the world. And then like a year later, I'll just casually bring it up and they're like, "What the fuck are you talking about? You never told me that before ever." And I'm like, "Oh yeah." Like all of the people that watch my content know about me, but I've never actually told people around me. Like, God help my parents, they're just starting to discover my stream and my YouTube. There's so much stuff on there they absolutely can never see. But
so I have to go, but because we always do things differently, I can just mute my microphone and go shower, and you guys can just keep talking.
That's true.
Oh, we get to see showering Johnny.
No, you don't. No, you don't get to do that.
Leave the webcam on.
Dicey.
That's if you subscribe to our Patreon.
Have one, but okay.
Anyway,
well, I did. There was so do your thing.
I'll say my goodbyes. Just like
Enjoy
the content. Bye. Subscribe to Twitter or some shit. Follow.
Subscribe to Twitter. Click the bell on Twitch.
I'll see you in 15 minutes. Goodbye.
Okay. All right. So Johnny's gonna go, poop and stuff and wash himself, bathe.
In what order? Do you like to wash before you poop or poop before you wash?
Oh, you gotta poop. No, you definitely need to poop and then shower. It is the best.
Shit, shower, shave is the way it goes.
Dude, it is
shit, shower, shave.
Yeah. So what's the order?
You
rub your. This is me. Like you just rubbing the ass.
What you? Oh, I see. Right. Okay. You got a scooping motion.
You just scoop it up.
What are you scooping?
You gotta grab and grate out.
You've got such weird techniques. Goldenboy goes for the scooping. You're literally grabbing and pulling.
Grabbing and pulling.
Yeah.
What are you grabbing? Where are you pulling it?
What are you doing? Wiping down?
I'm like a reverse ass cheek motion, like a fucking ripping it out like this.
Oh my god. Okay. So in obviously reverse ass cheek motion news. Dr. Disrespect banned from Twitch.
Oh yeah.
Do you notice, Joe? Actually banned from Twitch and got his pass revoked for E3.
Really? Wow. This is like, okay, Keemstar Drama Hour. Wow.
Yeah.
Was this because he streamed from the male toilets or something?
Yes.
Was it accidental? Was he drunk? What was going on?
No, I mean, he was just walking in and...
What, deliberately walking in and fucking with people?
Yeah, I really don't understand why they did it, but I think it's insane how people are defending Dr. Disrespect and, like, just in general. It's a crime, like, to film people in a public bathroom. That's like the stuff that they teach in school. Yeah, it is. It is a crime.
I've done that before. I mean, I've literally done the exact same thing before.
In school, did the kids ever... So, this never happened to me because I was an absolute alpha Chad, but...
You strike me, pre-gym Brennan Hook strikes me as an absolute alpha Chad.
Maybe like an omega Chad.
Okay,
but, no, it's kind of like the halfway point. I don't know what that is. I guess they call that the beta, but these days beta is a bad thing.
Yeah. Right, like the
what's the midway point? What's like just a little?
What is the middle letter of the Greek alphabet? I don't know. It's probably something beginning with M or N or so.
Meta Chad.
A meta Chad. Okay, we'll go with that. A meta Chad.
I was a meta Chad. I was like in between. I was like in my cocoon state. But what some of the kids used to do, some of the real dickhead kids, they used to just follow a kid they didn't like into the bathroom and just record them shitting over the stool.
Wow.
That's so bad. It's like, I don't know.
And one day, one of the kids, it's fucking awful. One day, one of the kids who got caught shitting just grabbed the phone and just shat on it and just put it in the toilet and shat on it. How good is that? How good is that?
Oh, fucking yes.
This
Get
is
him.
phenomenal.
Get him. I thought you were going to say threw some shit at him.
Pooed on his phone.
He pooed on his phone. That's amazing.
Dude, can you imagine like that process too? It's like, you know what, bro? Fuck you and take
That's
shit.
some athletics.
Fucking holding it like, like.
But they were just like holding it over. They couldn't see that he was
Right.
coming.
They can't get in. They can't get in.
Get in. It's
Because
locked,
they're just
so he
locked in.
grabs the phone and fucking poos on it.
Dude, I respect that.
Yeah, any kids out there, that's how you deal with that.
That's
There you go.
That's some.
Or maybe you just report the people for as
Oh yeah,
as
they
Alex
get
said,
they got reported
a
and
crime.
then they just get expelled. So
Yeah.
I when I wasn't joking earlier though that I've accidentally done that whilst I was at a TF2 LAN. I got totally shit faced, and this was the TF2 LAN where I was doing 24-hour. So it was gonna be a 24-hour stream, but I couldn't figure out how to stream it. So it was just 24-hour recording of a GoPro on my head. So I had a GoPro on my head, and wherever I looked, whatever I did, this GoPro was filming. And I would always turn it off when I went to the bathroom or when I wouldn't literally have it 24 hours. But the whole point was recording the experience of going to a LAN for people that didn't go to the LAN.
Yeah.
And
I get it. And that's what
Wandered
Dr.
in
Disrespect was.
whilst
trying
very
to
drunk.
do.
And also just there was nobody else in there. Somebody was leaving as I was coming in, and there was a red blinking light on the top of my head, and God knows what they thought I was doing. And so I went into the bathroom and just started taking a piss and just filming myself pissing the entire time.
Filming your Johnson.
Yeah,
and you
then
uploaded it to YouTube.
yeah, and then streamed it afterwards. So
Phenomenal.
No, well, the thing is, the bathroom was like packed. It was full. Like,
Right.
there was. Yeah, it's just one of those things where, like,
did he think it was funny?
I don't know, honestly.
Does the
It seemed
clip
like-
even live?
Yeah.
Well, it was somebody following him around streaming, right?
Yeah, like he has like a production
I see.
team or whatever that they were following him around. I don't know. It's weird. Like, I just think the whole thing is, for me, the part that's like shocking is that you literally have people who are defending it.
Yeah,
that is the thing that is shocking to me.
But you're always going to have papagas in society. You're just going to make sure they don't have a say in things.
You gotta make sure. That
Hence
they have
why
that
I
power.
think we should add IQ tests to being able to vote.
No, that's genuinely a
I'm taking
horrific
piss.
idea.
I'm taking a piss. I know it is.
Yeah, I was seeing that recently. Where was I seeing it? Oh, I think it was something from Richard Dawkins. Had the I think it was more of a thought experiment. I don't think he was genuinely advocating for it, but I think he said something like, "We limit voters based on age because age tends to correlate with experience in society, but also with general intelligence as well and development. Right? Mm-hmm. Most of the rules that are to do with youth, I don't know, some of them are to do with health of kids as well. But a lot of it is because there are still developments going on in the brain and the experiences and learning necessary to be able to make those kind of decisions. So his argument was, if the limit really, once you get down to it, is not so much about age, but about your ability to make a reasonable decision based on either your intelligence or experience or whatever you want to label that as, then why not have other parameters to make sure that that was the case? But the entire thing that blew up out of that, like, it seems reasonable until you take into account that anything you use to limit has to be like created by somebody and will just be used to limit people that they don't want voting. Like, it's the entire way that they managed to, or not the entire way, but a good part of the way of how they tried to make minorities unable to vote throughout the history of civilization, basically.
Yeah, that's a thing. Interesting. Obviously, people will probably take it in a very different direction, but I think that it certainly does create I think just the dialogue in general is just important. just having a conversation about like what it is. And I always thought, like, I think because when we talked about the meritocracies and stuff in the last episode, I think a lot of people were kind of like taken aback by our thought process behind it. And I think that, you know, if we who are the people that are scaling this and judging this, right? That's always the thought that comes into my head, and it always goes back to that quote, or not quote, but you know, the tagline from one of my favorite comics, which is Watchmen. It's like, who's watching the Watchmen, right? If their job is to, you know, watch us, who's putting oversight on them? Hence why we have so many oversight committees in our government, because there's always got to be like some kind of accountability. But we always set these really, you know, arbitrary sometimes, like rule sets and things like that. It's all very interesting. But I think that the one thing we can all agree on is that you shouldn't be an idiot filming people in the bathroom.
Yep. You don't really need an oversight governmental committee to tell you that should not be the case.
You really do not. It's pretty alarming. So so that was what happened with Dr. Disrespect. We did get some questions from our amazing community.
Fantastic.
I put a tweet out. It says, we're recording Foreheads right now. Please give myself Sideshow and Reinforce, who left conveniently, your best philosophical questions for Bren to answer.
Fantastic.
And I said, we want you to go deep.
You know, and you capitalized the word deep.
Deep. We wanted to get deep. Okay. Yeah. We ended up with over 40 replies. So we have a few.
Well, we got to get cracking then.
we have a couple here that are pretty.
I'll let you be the quality control.
So Trid had a really good one. Who would win in a fight to the death? Bren with a sword, or Bren with a hammer? Yes, there would need to be two Brens for this to happen.
Wait.
Comes with problems in of itself.
My brain is melting there. Bren with a sword versus Bren with a hammer. So like Bren is holding a miniature Bren who has a miniature hammer.
Yeah, I don't know if that's what Trid meant.
No, I imagine it would be two big Brens but only one of them has a hammer.
One with a sword, one with a hammer.
Weird Soviet shit, right? Do you remember in the war when they only had one gun between two men?
Yeah.
And one of them would be holding the ammo, and he'd have to just pick up his weapon and go ham. That would be what it would be like. So Sword Bren would kill one, and the other one would have to pick up the hammer and just fucking go for it.
Right, so it's a 2v1. There's three Brens, but one of the Brens is unarmed and on the team of the person that has a hammer.
Yeah. I think Sword Bren would fucking demolish both of them, honestly.
I was going to say, you think Sword Bren?
Well, I've been practicing my martial arts and my sword arts in my spare time, and my sword play, I could honestly disarm any opponent. If they have any weapon.
So, just for a little bit of background as well, we had a sword in our apartment yesterday when we were recording the D&D stream, because Mitch has been to Renaissance Fair and bought a fucking genuine sword that could kill a man. Like when he takes it outside, it has to be put in like a protective thing because it's a deadly weapon. And so he's got this enormous sword. Like, what is it? A hand and a half, I think he said. And
I don't know.
Did he let you?
It's a fat sword.
Did he let you pick it up?
Yeah, I unsheathed it. I've swung it around.
I mean, I certainly wouldn't.
Weighted very well. It's balanced well. Holding at the hilt, I assumed the position of a standard swordsman, and with the overhead strike maneuver, I reckon I could fuck up anyone.
Yeah, I felt very scared for my life, and I was over the other side of the room. But I've seen Bren's clumsiness with a genuine, normal household objects. So with a sword in his hand. You're not clumsy.
I'm not clumsy. Remember that one time when we were shit-faced and you dropped your drink and I fucking caught it as it was falling off the table?
That's just called dumb luck.
In it? Yeah, that was called my fucking reflexes. I'm like a cat that's been jacked up on Adderall.
Okay, so what you're saying is Sword Bren will win over Hammer Bren.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, all you got to do is go for the piercing motion.
Fair.
You know?
I personally, I
range
think
advantage.
If it was two sideshows, one had a hammer versus Sword Bren, I would definitely win, because I'd send one of the sideshows just to run at you, and he'd get carved to pieces, but I'd be right behind him with the hammer. So one would die, and then I'd cave your skull in.
Nope.
Okay, so now they've decided that they're going to try and murder each other in their sleep. So interesting there. Another good one. This came from Sir Zerp.
Oh,
He says, "Do scorpions look at lobsters the way that we look at mermaids?" Damn, son.
Wow. Okay.
That's deep. Well, mermaids don't exist.
yeah. They don't.
So,
Yeah, but if they did, you're telling me you wouldn't
what?
telling me you wouldn't
yeah, use your words.
tell me you wouldn't.
What are you even saying?
What, a mermaid?
Huh?
Not even a mermaid.
No, a lobster. I'd fuck a lobster. No, but the point is, like, mermaids were invented or whatever, were thought to exist, and they're typically like an incredibly attractive, mythical kind of being.
They would lure the sailors just to drown them.
Yeah, so presumably scorpions want to tap that lobster ass, is the implication.
So that's where we're going to leave that one. This is another one. This comes from Aaron Glimmy. A Glimmy on Twitter says, "As a chemistry teacher, my students ask me this all the time. Is water wet?"
So I don't even understand how this can be a question, because of fucking course water is wet. Water has the property of making other things wet as well, but water itself is almost the essence of wet. And so even to consider that water would not be wet, what is water? Dry? Are you a fucking idiot? I mean, honestly, I've seen this online so much, and it ruins me, because I cannot even conceive of an argument, a logical process that would end in water is therefore not wet. There is so much missing that I don't get.
Well, if you soaked your t-shirt in orange juice, it would be wet.
Yes.
So, therefore, it's not like it's just because it's water, it can be wet. I don't know. I agree with you. It's a dumb question. Move on.
Interesting.
Do you have any idea what people mean when they say that water isn't wet?
If there would be anyone to translate a peg,
well, no, I mean, like, water is wet. I mean, I get it. It is.
I think the argument
is water wet? Is the Pope Catholic? Does a bear shit in the woods?
No, but
yes.
I think it's like the word wet is meant to, like, you know, make something moist, right?
Okay.
So because of that, I think that's why, like, when they
is the ocean wet?
Wet implies, okay, the argument for it is wet implies that it is an object that has been made wet.
No, it doesn't.
Water is always wet.
Well, water is always wet. Therefore, it's wet.
But if it's always wet, then the descriptive state of wet does not apply to it.
So what would you say water is? If water is not wet, where on the wetness to dryness scale is water?
Well, no, it is, but it is the source of wet.
But it's the source of wetness.
Right, but not all liquids are wet. Mercury is not wet.
No, mercury
you put your hand in it, it's you come out, you're exactly the same. None of the moisture has been transferred to you. Water in its state has the property of being able to transfer that.
Next question.
I don't know. Doesn't make any sense to me.
Okay.
You're hurting my head. It's too early for this.
This is another one. This comes from Brock, Esports Brock on Twitter. He says, "Is cereal really just milk soup?"
Go on, Bren. These are for you. These are philosophical questions for Bren. They've been aimed at the same kind of general IQ level that you inhabit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense.
It makes sense.
No, it doesn't make sense. No, it's nonsense. Again, holy moly. Why does it make sense?
It's just a similar consistency.
No, not a similar consistency. I'm sorry, you could not get further away.
Cereal is just the soup of the morning.
Soup of the morning.
Actually, so according to dictionary.com, for soup, the noun version for soup. Oh, hey, there's Johnny. Bye, Johnny. The noun version is a liquid dish typically made by boiling meat, fish, or vegetables, etc., in stock or water. And then the next one is a substance or mixture perceived to resemble soup in appearance or consistency. So that second definition,
it meets neither. It meets neither definition because cereal does not resemble soup
or mixture perceived to resemble soup in appearance and consistency.
Okay,
yes.
so if I threw a bunch of grapes in a glass of water, is that now a soup? No, it fucking isn't. Not every solid that just floats randomly inside of a liquid is a soup. I'm sorry, it's madness, and I've got to shut it down. This cannot be allowed to exist. A soup, what you're describing as well would be a broth. To say that cereal is anything, it would be a broth.
Don't get into the specifics of it. Oh, my mic's come off the stand. Okay. I guess I'm holding it like this the entire episode.
And then the last one here comes from Alter Mesh. Says, does everyone perceive the same reality? If two people disagree on what reality is, who is right? How would you tell? If those two realities can both exist together, then can't we choose a reality for ourselves? Is reality a kaleidoscope, which we can spin as we choose? I disagree. Reality is just facts. Facts are reality. That's just it. If you come up to me and you like take, I don't know, like this pen, right? And then you're like, this pen, I say this pen is gray, and this pen is in fact gray, right? But if another person looks at it and says, nah, I disagree, this pen is blue, that's not your reality.
Wait. But what if everyone else in the world said that pen is blue?
But it's gray.
It's gray to you.
Oh shit, dude.
All right, but genuinely though, I think that's an interesting place to begin, because what if say you were colorblind, that is your reality as far as you're able to perceive the world around you.
But
that
you
is
were
your
acknowledging
reality.
that there's a deficiency with your sight.
No. But that's the key. There isn't a deficiency. I mean, there's a deficiency in terms of all humans' sight. We can only see we have what's it called, tetrachromatic or something? No.
Yeah.
No, that doesn't make sense. I think tetra is 4. We've got 3. Well, whatever. Anyway, the point is, we can only perceive via 3 main different colors, but and then all of the different blends of that, which gives us a limited spectrum. If you could perceive all of the electromagnetic spectrum, you'd have a different understanding of what color that pen was. It would have different properties for you, but you can't perceive it, therefore it's not your reality.
Damn, son.
I'm fucking up everything.
Dude, Bren.
What are you doing? Just slowly deconstructing your desk.
Everything's falling to pieces.
No, like that mic stand is a symbol of Bren's life.
Yeah.
And as it falls apart, Bren fails to be able to hook it up and get it upright again. That is
all right.
Bren, where do you weigh in on the reality question?
So I'm already convinced that my life is a simulation.
Okay. Just your life.
Well, because the only thing I can be certain of is that my perspective is the I don't know anyone else's perspective. The only true one is my own, right?
Okay.
My own 2 eyes, and
I think therefore I am.
The world.
Solipsism.
I think therefore I am. But the simulation theory just seems so radically likely to exist.
Mm-hmm. Are you guys still yapping about?
Why'd you say no?
Because the way that argument is phrased, I think has a number of assumptions to it that don't really make sense.
Let me read it for Johnny.
Computational power is going to increase.
So obviously, we're debating philosophical questions for Bren to answer, which ultimately, because Bren broke his mic stand, as you can see, raise it up, Bren.
Raise it up.
Raise up your dongers.
Phase up.
Yeah, there you go.
Raise your dongers. I haven't heard that one in years. That's an old school one.
It's a good one. I can't believe it's old school because it was literally like
No, it wasn't a year ago. That was like 5 years ago. At least
5 years ago.
Yeah,
dude?
man.
Yeah,
seriously, it was Raise Your Dongers was 5 years ago.
Raise Your Dongers was not 5 years ago.
I mean, maybe in your little corner of Twitch, it was a year ago because it took so long to be able to squirrel its way to Goldenboy FTW.
Sure. All right. So here it is. So the question came from Altermesh on Twitter and says, does everyone perceive the same reality? If two people disagree on what reality is, who is right? How would you tell? If those two realities can both exist together, then can't we choose a reality for ourselves? Is reality a kaleidoscope, which we can spin as we choose?
Johnny,
Well,
go on, Johnny. What do you think?
Wait, so the question is just like, who of these two? How do you know who of these two are correct?
Wait, what?
Yeah,
No.
I mean that's basically the question. Like, who is right? I think like the person kind of just answers the question themselves. Like, no one's right. Well, I mean, I disagree. I think that there is a right and there is a wrong. You know, like again, my example is this pen is gray, but if a bunch of people tell me this pen is blue, but I'm like, no, it's gray. This is right. Like, because this pen is actually gray.
But
Can't you just use some kind of science?
But science only works if what you...
No, what I'm saying is like, okay, so cats see the world differently from us, but we clearly know that is because of biology.
Yeah. But why do you think that the way that you see the world is how the world is? The only...
Because we have tools to leverage that opinion.
Right, and they would seem to argue that is not how the world is, because human perception does not
they
line
have
up.
evidence which supersedes our facts and science or whatever, then it's irrelevant.
Right, but my point is, okay, so
Did I make it too serious?
No. But all right, think about this. The way that humans would normally perceive the world and have like common sense logic doesn't really map onto reality. Even if you can say that there's such thing as
common
reality.
sense and logic doesn't map onto reality.
A lot of the time, no. I mean, the way that you would perceive a bunch of things.
I know. I'm just asking.
Like the sun rising and setting. You know, like the classic ways that you would interpret things, like the Earth is still and the sun moves around it. We believe not to be true because we've then done further tests. But the idea that was everyone's reality for a long time. That is what they believed was the case. Right?
Yeah,
sure, but you can't decide. There is in no world can you just philosophically say that a person's reality is correct with less fundamental, concrete science behind it. So ultimately, the reality with the most concrete evidence behind it that supports an opinion is the correct one.
Is the correct reality.
Yeah.
There is a right and there is a wrong. There's just facts.
I mean, it's not even like right or wrong. It's just like leaning a bit more right. Not like 100% correct, because there might be things that we don't understand yet. But with our current science, there's a more correct answer and a less correct answer.
Interesting.
It's not 1 to 0.
Solar simulation says.
I really have to Uber into work, so
yeah.
I don't know what to do here.
All right, and last bit of news. It's sad. Immortals buys OpTic.
That's gonna take like 10 minutes for you guys to go through.
Yeah. So
George, do you just want to close down my Discord?
Just leave it, mate.
Just leave it.
All right. Cool beans.
All right. All right. Bye, Johnny.
See
ya.
See ya.
Don't get too crazy without me. I love you guys. But
Dude, we got Brent.
I heard the soup cereal thing, and I almost like tripped in the shower.
Why? What is your opinion?
I can't. I have to go. I have meetings. I'm an adult. See ya.
Okay. He's an adult, people. He's an adult. All right. So this is the last topic we're going to talk about today as we see Johnny go. You hate to see him go, but you love to see him walk away.
How do you define adulthood?
How do we define adulthood?
Yeah.
I don't know,
How would
pay
you
bills?
define it?
Pay rent?
Not by meetings.
No. But probably based on age and responsibility is how most people would define adulthood.
Yeah.
If you're looking after yourself. I mean, it's a societal definition for sure, but
yeah.
What do we think of the Hong Kong anti-extradition protests that are currently going on?
Oh man, I will refrain only because I am not as well versed on commenting on something like that. I don't know much about it,
Neither am I, but I love commenting on stuff I don't understand.
Go on then, Bren. Give us the lowdown.
From my understanding, it's a big protest right now in Hong Kong, protesting the anti-extradition laws because they're trying to currently push through laws that would allow China to extradite people from Hong Kong that commit laws or break laws in Hong Kong. And the people of Hong Kong believe that this is the first step in Hong Kong being taken over by China.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty big shit.
Yeah.
It is. It is a huge deal. And I mean, China is like just so, even more than ever now, they're so powerful.
Yeah.
And just, it definitely is concerning. But like I said, I'm not well versed in the topic to.
Well, I just also don't like talking about politics in general.
You were the one that brought it up, you idiot.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Well, there was actually another comment that was interesting. I don't think I'll get into it, but I will say it just because I think it's an interesting topic. Then this person, Taki Meta on Twitter, says, "Is it okay to tell an offensive joke if it's just to get a laugh? The intent is solely to get a laugh. Would you be completely okay with Abe Lincoln or Winston Churchill if they were to drop a racial, disabled, or gay joke? Not because they hate that demographic, but simply because it's funny." And I think there was just to kind of give my piece on it, I think that humor and comedy, or just humor in general, is very subjective. As I have learned in my careers, we've learned in our careers, right? Like people are either gonna, is that me?
Sounds like you.
People are either gonna love you or hate you, right? For your jokes. I don't think that it is worth. I don't think it's a good thing. I don't think like we should be telling jokes like that. Like, I mean, if that's the only way you can make people laugh, I don't know. Hold on, sorry.
Sure.
Just everyone's leaving. It's just me and Brad.
Stop.
Just me and Brad.
Take away the fact that the guy pointed out that the racist, homophobic, or whatever else jokes. Okay. Take away that fact and just think about it as shock humor, because that's what it essentially is. You're going against you're saying something that doesn't agree with societal norms to get a shocking chuckle out of people, it's been a basis of comedy for years and years and years. Not saying it's okay. I think you can still do shock humor without defaulting to racism or homophobic jokes.
Because I also think
about shagging your sister or something.
I always think about one of my favorite comics is John Leguizamo, and he's really funny, tells amazing stories. Really is just a comic that when he tells jokes I connect with, because I'm Hispanic and he's telling a very personal jokes, right? That makes sense to me. And they are, for the most part, centered around race. But I accept it because it's not like he's talking about other races to an extent. He's talking about us and Hispanics and what we do.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things there as well. It has to be, well, it doesn't have to be, but it's certainly more valuable to actually have a point behind your humor as well. Like most people, when they tell a joke, the joke isn't just why did the chicken cross the road or something, where the only purpose is to get out a chuckle. Normally there is either a bigger point behind it, or there's not really a moral of the story, but there's something that they want to tell via the story, or the reason that people laugh is interesting because it says something bigger about the world. That's also a fundamental part of comedy. And so if you're just going for the cheap laugh every time by going for shock humor, by exploiting the most taboo topics, then you're not getting that. Also, it just appeals to a lot of people who genuinely are racist or homophobic if you're doing that kind of if you're making those kind of jokes. So
and then also the other thing that he said, which was, would you be completely okay with Abe Lincoln, Winston Churchill, if they were to drop racial, disabled, gay joke, not because they hate the demographic? I think when it comes down to our politicians, not to get too political, but there should just be a discourse, right? There should just be, an appropriate discourse, and there's a time and place, but you can have fun with things. Like I used to love it when like the jokes would be had at the correspondence dinners and stuff like that. Like those are whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like who cares about that? But if you're at a political rally or something like that, and you say
you have to interpret the context of when it was said.
It's all contextual for me, exactly. And
but also, I think what was the other thing that I was going to say? It's zipped out of my head now as well.
But I mean, that's it on my end. So pretty awesome.
That was the other thing that I was going to say. It's that. No, how does it keep evaporating from my brain? My brain's got holes in it. It's like a colander. It's like I pour a thought into it and it just disappears so fast. It's unbelievable.
Oh my goodness gracious!
It's there. It's on the tip of my frontal lobe, but I can't recall it. I can't drag it down.
Think about it, and we're gonna move on to our final topic, which is that Immortals have purchased OpTic Gaming. And I just want to say very bluntly that for the people that are saying, like they're kind of like anti this move and everything, the reality is, right, like they sold the company, right? As much as I'm a fan of Hex and respect Hex, not having
is it the OpTic fans against it?
Oh yeah, for sure, because it's not OpTic anymore, and technically they are 100% right. It is not OpTic anymore.
Do think it's dumb though to just completely disregard the OpTic brand.
It seems like such an enormous OG brand that just fans latch themselves onto. I mean, why would Immortals want to remove the entire brand rather than?
So they are going to keep it.
Oh, okay.
For the Call of Duty team.
Okay.
The Call of Duty team will still continue to function as I could actually like pull up the press release right now, but
because I feel like correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like if I stopped people even on the street, or at least stopped people in video games, far more of them, like a ratio more, huge amount more, would have heard of OpTic rather than Immortals.
Yeah.
I mean, the brand value is so much larger.
So this is the quote. This is from the press release from the Immortals Gaming Club. It says here, presence across every major esports league and game. Says the combined company's team holdings will include Overwatch League franchise, LA Valiant, OpTic's Call of Duty World League team, and the League of Legends franchise. And Brazil's flagship CSGO team, MIBR. The company will manage the Houston Outlaws and Overwatch League franchise on an interim basis and maintain rosters in other leading titles. Then went on to say, clearly OpTic is a premier Call of Duty brand, said Peter Levin, managing director of Griffin Gaming Partners and chairman of the IGC board of directors. We are excited to work with our partners at Activision Blizzard to ensure that OpTic continues to play that leading role in Call of Duty's future. And that's all well and good. And obviously they go into like the Houston Outlaws situation, I think a little bit there. I mean, that's a whole other can of worms.
It really is.
But just regarding the OpTic, so they say other leading titles, but my worry is that they don't mention the Gears of War team. And the Gears of War team has won multiple championships for the OpTic brand. I mean, you're talking like just an absurd amount of championships. They just won recently at the, oh my goodness, not Vegas. Oh man, I'm totally drawing a blank on where it was, but it was Boston. Yeah, they just won in Boston. Phenomenal squad. I would really hate to see them lose out on that team, because I think that they're going into Gears 5. You're going to want that team around, and Gears 5 is going to have a significant investment for esports. So no reason you wouldn't want to work with one of Microsoft's flagship video game titles and esports programs. As far as Call of Duty is concerned, I think that from my personal take on it is that Call of Duty, or the OpTic, was more than just a team. It was the combination of all the people that were involved. Right?
Yeah. Like people loved the videos and vlogs and getting to know everybody and thinking about Hex running it all. Everyone kind of bought into the family is such a dumb word and gets overused so much, but it was a bit like that, I suppose.
Yeah, that's what they did. And so I don't know. I mean, this will not be the same. I think it will really just be, a hollow brand of its former self.
A shell.
Yeah, shell. Yeah, shell of its former self.
Speaking about shells, how is the Houston Outlaws situation going to work? I mean, I have no information about that, but that is an interesting thing for a lot of these franchise leagues moving forwards.
Who's going to want to buy it?
I mean, it's a large brand within the Overwatch League. If you were looking to get into the Overwatch League, then picking up an existing brand would make sense. You can fix the team.
Yeah, it does make a lot of sense, especially considering they're one of the more popular teams in the league. Like, it would be a problem if this was the Florida Mayhem.
Yes, a huge problem. But also, there is the obvious problem is a conflict of interest. Having a company that's even interim managing a team at the same time as...
What's the alternative?
I'm not 100% sure. It would have, either it gets given to the league and the league has to manage it or something. That
makes no sense at all as well. That's still, again...
I mean, they're forced to sell to somebody else. I don't know. I'm sure it's something that Blizzard are heavily monitoring because it's so obvious that that's a problem. But it's going to be a problem for every franchise league moving forwards because you just cannot have two teams run by the same people. And yet you can't drop teams out of your system because that's the model of a franchise league. I don't know how it works in traditional sports if they sell to... But then why would traditional... Like, you couldn't sell to another owner. You know what I mean? It's weird in esports because they have parent companies and the parent company gets sold. But as far as I'm aware, traditional sports teams don't tend to have parent companies that get bought and sold. Mm-hmm. And then the sports teams are underneath them and end up trading ownerships. It's normally the thing itself gets sold. A very, very weird situation. And I bet it's been rough for the Outlaws people as well, knowing that this has been going on and not being able to make changes with the team and stuff like that. Not that I know that firsthand, but it just seems like if you're going to sell a team, you're probably not going to make mad upgrades. You
can't, because the team gets evaluated at a certain value, and if you make changes, that changes the evaluation.
Yeah, and you're spending money on it.
You literally cannot make changes.
Yeah. And I think that as far as my point still is who is going to be willing to purchase it. I genuinely do not think that they will find buyers.
Well, why not? Because if, say, there was a range of expansion teams coming into the league next year, if you are looking to buy a spot in Chicago, for example, or you can buy the Houston Outlaws, an already developed brand, really popular, but are currently not doing very well as a team. I mean, maybe I'm being naive about this, but I would go for the Houston Outlaws if they were the same valuation.
Yeah.
Because they're pre-existing, and you have all of that fan base, and you don't have to do the work.
It's a guarantee.
Yeah, you've got it there. You're one of the beginnings. You have history in the league. So,
and I mean, it's maybe you're. I don't know, Alex. Are you thinking in terms of the scope of just the esports scene?
I mean, I'm thinking in terms of just the overall, like this brand or this. It is expensive. There will more than likely not be a return in that investment for a very long time. And to be frank, I mean, this is going to be, in my opinion, one of the first real challenges of the Overwatch League as a business. If they could find a buyer for Houston Outlaws, then great. But I do believe that we could see Immortals be in an interim position, definitely for the season, and
I can definitely see it for this season. I mean, this season, there's only a few more months left in it, right? So the chances of being able to find a buyer, unless they've been working really hard behind the scenes and knew that, well, people knew it was coming for a long time. So in theory, they could have something in place, but it seems likely that would be till the end of the season because these things take time. But one of the things that the league has been best at is being able to sell these teams. I mean, the
people forget this.
The league has been phenomenal at being able to sell these teams. Now, whatever secret source their marketing team has got, or whatever numbers or return on investment they're projecting to these people, who the fuck knows? I have no idea. But they've been very good at being able to sell to or find buyers for these teams.
Yeah.
And I mean, there were people that were trying to buy in this year that didn't end up buying in. So I think as much as we don't understand where the ROI is going to come from if you were to purchase this team, the people who are buying into it are buying really for like the long term. So
Yeah.
I think it's possible that they find a buyer. I think it's even pretty likely that they'll find a buyer quite easily. That hasn't tended to be something that the league has struggled with. What the league has at times struggled with is having a structured system in place for handing over power. Like just having codified rules for how this stuff works because it's so brand new. I think I can imagine that's something they're scrambling with at the moment, is trying to figure out, all right, what the hell does happen in this situation where you've got not really one company running both teams, but one company is running one team and having to manage another one in the interim.
Yeah. So obviously this is a developing issue. We will continue to have to just wait and see how that pans out. It's going to be very interesting times ahead. Feel bad for the OpTic CSGO team. They're basically just going to be released or divested, as it was said in the statement, because they have MIBR, which is a very, very popular team of Brazilian lineup. Great players. Then they're going to get the LCS spot, rebrand that to Immortals. I think that one makes sense. Immortals has a stronger brand in League of Legends than OpTic.
Yeah.
So that's fine. And this was really what that play was for this whole time. It was big news when LCS turned down Immortals for the North American spot, gave it to teams that weren't even in existence beforehand, such as like Golden Guardians and Clutch Gaming. So I think that was kind of like, this was their FU to Riot and, getting into the LCS. I don't know, man. It's going to be weird times up ahead. But the drama, that's what we live for. So
Bren's been doing a workout this entire time with his mic.
Oh, bro.
Your left bicep's going to be so swole.
They're going to be so stacked.
Holy moly.
All right, so we're going to end out. But before we go, I wanted to ask both of you. E3 obviously brought some great new announcements. So besides the usual suspects, right, for, you guys mentioned Elden, whatever they call that game, Elden Ring and Cyberpunk, any other game caught your attention that you just want to say this is a game to look out for?
Yeah. So what got announced at E3 that sunk under everyone's radar was the Dota Auto Chess mod. The developers for it have announced that they're making a version exclusive for the Epic Games Store. A separate version. You can download it right now on your Android devices, and you can play it. You can make an account, and the progress will transfer over. But you're going to have to play it on PC and on mobile. This game is going to be huge, I reckon. Because it's not only does it have the backing of the China money, but it's on the Epic Games Store. It's got a great platform. It's on multiple platforms.
Is that the one that you've been playing?
Yeah, and it's already got, literally a bunch of Hearthstone pros. Excuse me. Everyone I speak to, every pro player I speak to, has either heard of it or is playing it right now, currently. Yeah. Like in every game, ever. Hearthstone streamers are streaming it. Like it is actually, it's the biggest thing that nobody knows about right now, I think, in gaming, which is, it's so weird. It's like so popular, but a lot of people are just not really aware of how big this is getting. And it's going to be huge. It's going to be big. I guarantee you there's going to be tournaments within the year for it. I mean, there was already tournaments for the Dota mod.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's actually nuts. Yeah, I haven't really been following E3, so I have no idea.
So is it out right now?
You can download it on mobile, yeah.
What's it called?
It's just called Auto Chess.
Oh, it's called Auto Chess.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, definitely going to have to keep an eye on that. So the game that I am looking out for, and I'm going to keep it real. I'm going to keep it so real, and I know that this may set some people back, okay? But yesterday, I had the pleasure of playing this game on the show floor that blew my mind away. It had skill, teamwork. It had everything you could possibly want. Fast-paced, beautiful visuals, everything.
You know, TF2's been around for years. We both went for the same joke with a different game.
It's called Harvest Moon Mad Dash. Okay.
Harvest Moon Mad Dash.
Let me tell you, this game for the Nintendo Switch
Sell me, Alex.
is amazing. So it's basically like It's like Bejeweled meets Harvest Moon. So like,
I don't even know what Harvest Moon is. What's
so
Harvest Moon?
Moon's like a farming game, kind of like
it's
Stardew
Bejeweled
Valley.
meets a farming game.
Yeah, dude.
And this is your game to watch.
So you would straight up like you could do like eggplants, and you could do the level we did was eggplants and yellow bell peppers, right?
Okay.
So we obviously couldn't enjoy it. And it was so absurd because we played the first round, me and my buddy Alumni from Envy. And we did like one round, and the guy was like there, and he's all like, oh yeah, you know, a bunch of E3 convention goers, right? And we explained to him, we're very competitive people. We will beat this. So we did the first one, but we didn't understand like everything that was going on, because like you have to create the you know, like in Harvest, or not Harvest Moon, excuse me, in Bejeweled, you have to make like the gems all connect, right?
Yeah.
This game, it kind of works like that, except you're like stacking them. So let's say you just continue to like pick up and then throw down some blue gems, and you continue to stack them, and then you have to harvest them before they go bad, and then that's how you get your points. So I didn't know that at first. I thought you just had to place them down and stuff. And
so
then
you were getting a lot of rotten eggplants.
So I was getting a lot of rotten eggplants and a lot of rotten bell peppers. And then there's like this section where like bulls will like run out, and they'll like try and screw up your build and like what you have. But dude, let me tell you, we did the first round, didn't go that well. The guy was kind of laughing at us. He was like, oh, okay, you know, obviously, blah, blah, blah. I was like, all right, you know, can we go again? He's like, yeah, sure, whatever you want, you know. So we went again. We had to hit 35,000 like 35,000 points. We ended up with like 42,000. We obliterated it. And then the guy turns around, looks at us. He's like, holy crap, that's insane. I was like, yeah, dude, because we thought we were competing against each other, but we were actually playing with each other.
Oh,
we didn't know that. So we started like coordinating, and then we started throwing shit down, and oh my god, dude, it was amazing. I've been thinking about it this whole time. I'm literally gonna go back to E3. You know, I have an appointment to play Final Fantasy VII, which I'm very excited about. But all I want to do is just go and play Harvest Moon Mad Dash, because it is legitimately one of the best games I played at that event.
Okay, all right, there you go. Good. All right, that's a weird recommendation, but they
on the radar, people, on the radar. Anyway, all right, so that's gonna do it for us. Subscribe to YouTube. We got to figure out what we're gonna do as far as if we're gonna make a new Twitch channel, or if we're just going to show it on our individual channels.
True, we'll figure that out.
Let us know in the comment section. Let us know in the chat. And also tweet at us using the hashtag the foreheads, and tell us if you would be willing to support a channel, a standalone channel for this podcast on Twitch. We'd really like to hear from you. Yeah, so let us know. Anything else you guys want to
add? Just that iTunes and Spotify are still in a state of coming soon, because I thought that I'd done it, but it didn't work, and I don't know how to fix it. So I'm going to try and fix it this week. Otherwise, cool. There you go. It should work, but it doesn't for some reason.
Bren, you've been holding your mic.
Yeah, my arm hurts. I'm not going to lie. Again, looking for work at E3. If you watch this and you need someone for the last final day on the Thursday, I can't work it because I'm working the Overwatch League. But yeah, next year maybe. Hit me up, you know.
All right,
give me a little ring.
Bren's looking for work. Josh needs to make the podcast work on Spotify and iTunes, and I'm gonna go to work. So there you go. Work. And then Johnny went to work.
Johnny went to work. I'm gonna be joining him pretty soon.
That's right. Okay, so that's gonna do it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. It's been episode trace of the Foreheads. Sans Johnny, because he went to freaking work. This is too ridiculous. But we'll see you guys next time. Subscribe, all that good stuff. Peace.